on should doctors breach patient confidentiality in the wake of the coronavirus. Well, to debate this, I was joined by lawyer and former nurse Rebecca Butler and academic clinical fellow in respiratory medicine, Dr. Marina Sultan.
These are very challenging cases. And it's absolutely essential that the public can maintain trust in the profession. It's important that the public don't feel stigmatised in coming forwards with symptoms, because we know that early detection of symptoms and early reporting of symptoms will mean that we can identify contacts more easily and that we are able to act and advise patients to self-isolate in a more timely fashion. And all of those measures will help to minimise disease spread.
Yep, Rebecca?
That's absolutely not the issue. They have a statutory duty to report the notifiable diseases, and those are amended by statute in the 1988 regulations, the infectious diseases regulations. We also have powers of justices to detain people in custody for refusing to submit to quarantine provisions. So I'm afraid basic human rights, and I accept that patient confidentiality is one of those sacrosanct rights in medicine, are overridden in cases of a national or, in this case, an international
But isn't there a
emergency.
danger, Rebecca, of naming people could leave patients at risk of being bullied from others?
No, well, I'm sorry, but that's then down to the media outlets to make sure that they don't use pejorative terms like super spreader and actually encourage people in a really safe environment to disclose who they are. I mean, Dr. Sultan is not taking account of the fact that the chap in Brighton went to the pub, and if people hadn't seen his picture on television and heard his name, they wouldn't know, and the contact tracers
But if I may say, that individual and any other individual in these cases do liaise with healthcare professionals and Public Health England, who do undergo an exhaustive contact tracing process, which does identify other contacts that an individual with a
Marina, there seems to be a
illness
secrecy about this. Let me ask Marina, there seems to be an element of secrecy about this in Brighton. Wait a minute, Rebecca. There seems to be an element of secrecy, particularly in Brighton. So naming patients could avert public panic if we know it's contained to certain areas.
I think the real issue is here is how do we prevent the spread of an illness, and the way to prevent the spread of an illness is to, we have to balance these cases. We have to balance people's confidentiality versus our overriding duty of care to the public. And that is how we can overarchingly and overall take a position where we can minimise the spread of this illness and this disease. What we can't do as a profession is stigmatise specific individuals for having an illness where that's not warranted, where actually we can achieve the aim of identifying contact tracing without naming and shaming individuals.
But the law's against you. The law has the power and the thrust to override what you're talking about. You cannot repeal the law, certainly not now. So I'm afraid that every objection you have is nullified by the statutes that are in place precisely to stop people like you saying that confidentiality should be maintained. The public does not expect doctors to hide the identity of people who have been out in public.
And that's it for a moment. More news at 10.